world full of Uniteds.
It is a magic moment from Heung-min Son!
Cities.
Through to Lucas Moura!
And Rovers.
Harry Kane! Oh, what a goal!
There is only one Hotspur.
It's glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur!
Hello and welcome back to another podcast on with One Hotspur. I'm Tobey from _Spurs Center, and today I'm joined by Max from the Hotspur News, Sam from thfc.national, and Bodhi from hotspur.industry on Instagram. How you guys doing?
I'm still disappointed about the result against Everton. I mean, I expected nothing more than a draw, but that doesn't mean that I'm happy with a draw just because I expected it.
Yeah, I mean, just really disappointing. I mean, just the performance, both of our goals were pretty lucky. And it just didn't seem like we were able to really create anything. I think that's where some of our biggest problems started. And then
I think of the goals were lucky.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess a lot of people complained about the James Rodriguez thing. I think, honestly, I mean, I do think he made a meal of it. But even if he didn't kick the floor, Reguilón was going to burst through the back of him, and it would have been a penalty anyway. But
it's
I
clumsy,
mean, the last Everton,
that's the word.
Yeah, it was pretty clumsy. But the last Everton goal, I mean, it was pretty well crafted. I mean, horrible defending from Eric Dyer, but we're used to that. But I think the back three was like the root of our problems because we lost that that extra man in midfield to like really create with. I think we missed Lucas Moura a lot. I don't know why he was dropped from the starting lineup. I thought he's been one of our better players recently. And then just not having as many options to pass to up front, I think that's really where our problems started. Bodhi, what did you think?
I mean, I don't know how to explain that game. That was one of the I say it every week, but we're just getting worse. It was one of the worst performances I've seen from the Spurs side. It was just there was no word I could describe except chaos. It was like it was just so scrappy, so cagey. It was like there was no free. No one was like free. There was no movement. There was nothing. And I know you talk about like Lucas Moura and all that. And before the game, I would have agreed. But when he came on, he was terrible.
Yeah,
he was no better than any of the other players that was playing on the pitch. There's specific players. Eric Dyer, Alderweireld, Aurier was having a shambles as well. I think Højbjerg, he's getting too much. Højbjerg and Reguilón, they're getting too much stick. For me personally, I think we could have conceded so much more than two when playing Sissoko. What was he thinking playing Sissoko? Sissoko, he in his prime, of course playing, but he's terrible. He's been playing terrible. He's one that's going to be going in the summer. In Dombley, he couldn't really do much. Kane, I don't know what to say. Kane's God. I mean, yeah, there's nothing more you can say about him. Yeah, just the whole team was shambles. The substitutes were terrible. I hope Kane's not, out for too long with the ankle. It was all just a shambles. Nothing was going our way. Nothing was going Everton's way, except for the pen. That was not a penalty, but it's on the penalty, right? It's weird because at first glance I thought it was a penalty as well. But then when I looked back at the replay, it's clearly just Hammers just stubbed his toe on the grass, and then Reguilón tripped over him.
He made a big meal out of it. He made it look like he was fouled.
Yeah, but see, but the problem is, it's no coincidence the fact that I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, but I've seen this too much to not comment on it. Michael Oliver, every single time he referees a decision goes against us. And now I've said this so many times. He seems such a biased. I don't know if he has some sort of agenda against Spurs or if he's just another shit referee. But I'd rather see Dean Mike referee us. I mean, Michael Oliver. I thought he was he's a all right ref. He's a shambles. He's horrible. What terrible ref. At least for Spurs, I don't know. Every team that will be against Spurs if they have Michael Oliver refereeing, then they'll be jumping up and down, I'm sure. But I don't know. I'm not going to make excuses because the fact that we didn't deserve to win based on how we played. but we shouldn't
Mm.
have. But realistically, going into the game, we shouldn't have drawn, and the game was there for the
Yeah.
taking. Like every single rest of the games we played recently, every team is shite, but we're just shite. That's it simply.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say I agree. I mean, we've been very, very poor. And I don't think the three in the back with two wing backs is the best formation with us. I do think it should work better considering that Reguilon and Aurier are supposedly two very attacking fullbacks. But I thought Aurier was, I didn't think he was very good at all. Like I said earlier, I thought Sissoko was very poor. And I think we missed Lucas Moura from the start. I mean, I've already said that, but I really do think that maybe if he'd started the game, he would have played a little better than he did. But yeah, Bodhi.
4-4-2 is our best formation.
It's not. Oh my good lord, we're not going into this again. Max, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah. So first of all, I've never seen us pass the ball so bad. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't really like. I don't know how many times we strung 5 passes together. Like, I've never seen our passing like so unbelievably poor. And also, well, second of all, in my opinion, that was Ndombele's worst game in a Spurs shirt this season. Yeah, okay, fair enough. In the second half, he was better, but I lost count of how many times he lost the ball in the first half. Like, he was doing these tricks, which is what I love about him. And
Yeah, I agree.
and it's usually like really like hard to get the ball off him. But my word, how many times did this guy lose the ball? And
Head must have been slippery.
yeah. And to be honest, like, looking at where he was played, I was actually quite happy because in my opinion, and people could agree with me on this, I think Ndombele like initiates his like dominance more when he's played further up because on the ball, in my opinion, he's
Yeah.
up there in top 3 at least, best centre mids in the league on
But
the
Lucas
Mhm.
Moura's made it so hard to drop him that the only place he can play is in the midfield alongside Højbjerg. And I mean, you can't drop Højbjerg. So the midfield three is almost sorted every game. It makes predicting it a lot easier because it's always Lucas and Ndombele and Højbjerg. But it just changed against Everton. And I think that's probably the best midfield three because nobody really makes mistakes in that. But I think Ndombele is on poor form because, you know, at the start of the season, he was incredible. You know, he was flicking it over players' heads. He was incredible. And, you know, the Spurs admin on the Instagram page was going crazy, Tongi Tuesdays or whatever you want to call it. And now there's not really much to comment on because it's just really sloppy. And I was actually gonna comment on the passing. It was the worst I've ever seen from Tottenham. I've seen quite a few Tottenham games, and I can't recall a worst game where it's passing. And like Max said, I can't remember a time, when we put 5 good passes together. I mean, is that bad, or am I the only one that's overreacting here? Because 5 passes should be easy. I could do that with my friends in the park. You know, that's really easy to put 5 passes together, and they're professional footballers. You know, you should be able to, even if they're short, tiny passes, you should be able to put 5 passes together. And the team just seems incapable. And I think that's where Lucas Moura probably comes into it because I know he doesn't always pass the ball, but he breaks the ball far too. You know, he doesn't put it too far up the pitch, but he dribbles with the ball really well, brings it high up the pitch. That's what I like about him because that's vital to our game. And then he finds Kane and Son who are able to pass the ball more. That's just how I see it. But you know,
I was actually going to comment on Mora, but I just want to make a couple more points. First of all, Everton is Højbjerg's bogey team.
Yeah.
I said that on the other pod that we did.
I think we can finally emphasise that Everton is Højbjerg's bogey team. And number 2, and my second point, what's worrying is that we're scared to attack Everton. Why? Because both of the goals came from Everton mistakes because we actually pressured them.
Yeah.
We forced them into errors and then we're scared to attack them. But anyways, back to Lucas Moura. I agree. I'd rather have someone who wants to fight and drive the ball forward and then lose, rather than someone like Dele Alli who takes longer than my nan to release the ball out wide, if you know what I mean. Like, I'd rather have someone who wants to get the ball up the pitch, because going forward, and we've seen this the last 2 or 3 seasons, we look so threatening. And
Mhm.
and oh yeah, and also finally, like, people expect me to be mad, but I'm not even mad, because I was expecting this, which kind of shows like how, which just shows like how far we've gone downhill and how far we've regressed since we were top of the league. It's just
Yeah,
shocking,
I
really.
think I saw a lot of people, like not even just like one or two, but I saw quite a few people talking about how they didn't watch the game yesterday, or they didn't watch the entire game yesterday, and it's tough. I mean, I think Mourinho has done an excellent job of making the supporters feel disconnected from the team, and there's probably an element of that that's because of COVID-19 and because we're not allowed to watch the team in person. But I just I feel like such large parts of our fan base feel so disconnected and so alienated from the squad, um, that it's just I think it's just really hampering just the overall morale. But
I
going
think
back
it's
to the
just got to the
passing
point.
points,
I think it's just got to the point where the fans just like don't want to even like try and
yeah,
watch the game. At the same time, they're
exactly.
forced to. Like, it was the same story with me last night. Like, I got back from like a long day out in London yesterday, and like I was like, oh no, Spurs are playing tonight. Here we go again.
Hmm. Yeah.
But then again, like an hour before, I was like, you know what? Let's just watch it. You never know. Like, we could win the game 5-0 and pull off a masterclass. But as expected, we were let down once again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Going back to that passing point though that we were talking about, I think another element that people aren't necessarily like looking at is not just the passers of the ball. I mean, obviously Højbjerg's passing wasn't great, and Dombele's passing wasn't great. Reguilon's passing wasn't great. I mean, that could probably involve the entire starting 11. But the other element is having someone to pass to, and I think that we had so many players on the pitch who were just being lazy and not getting to the spaces they were supposed to be, that when you get the ball and then you're obviously getting pressed, because I mean this is a professional match, you can't just hold on to the ball for an hour. um, there's someone pressing you, and so you have to play the pass, and there's no one there, because I mean Aurier was walking around, Musa Sissoko was walking around, jogging around. People weren't getting into the positions that they should have been in, and I mean you saw Kane had to drop in to like half the way through. Like he was in our box at points. It's it really comes down to the work ethic. And I think that's another thing that we missed from Lucas Moura, was he just constantly runs like a chicken with his head cut off. I mean, good or bad, but he gets into those positions where he's in space for people to pass to him. And I think we really, really missed having more than two players on the field who could get into those positions to pass to. Because I mean, Kane and Son obviously work hard, but when they're at the top, we have to get the ball up to them. And Højbjerg and Dombele can't do it by themselves. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. But Sam, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, well, I've got a few points here, and I think
Yeah, I'll go through them one on one.
I think
One by
one
one.
of them is about how we always blame the defence, but I didn't see too much wrong again with the defence. I mean, there was a few individual errors. Obviously, the second goal that they scored was it was a bullet. You know that there was no stopping that. And
Oh, okay, hold on. Sorry, there was absolutely stopping that. The defending from Eric Dyer was atrocious.
yeah, I
I
was
mean,
going to come to
Seamus
that. I was going
Coleman
to
took a
say that.
massive touch. Eric
I
Dyer
was going
didn't
to
close
say
him
that
down.
Dyer. I was going to say that Dyer was the man at fault, but again, that's
Mhm.
not the whole defence. It's Eric Dyer. And I was going to say the penalty's not a penalty. I don't think, because I know we've analysed it already, but I just wanted
Mhm.
to come back to it and say that I don't see how there's any contact there. The closest he comes is by going within like 10 centimeters of his boot, and you know, clumsy is a very good word to describe it, but I just feel like this is, this is the same old individual errors. And, clumsiness I'm going to call an error here because, if he wasn't clumsy there, then, he wouldn't have gone to ground. But come on, James Rodriguez should have, he shouldn't have dived like that. He fell down and then he looked up at the ref and started pretending to feel pain. He's literally just tripped over, everybody trips over, just get up and try and, if he got up, then obviously, you wouldn't have won the penalty. But, Son got a lot of hate for that, for diving, and that's because he dived weakly, and it probably was quite weak. And I'll be totally honest, I don't think that Man United should have had the goal overruled. But again, going back to the United game, I just don't see the contact. I really don't. Maybe it's just me, but I put a post up on my Instagram, and there was about 25 comments, I think, saying, I totally agree. Where's the contact? I don't see it. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the outcome is of that. If any comments are made by the press, or if there's any news reports that come out. But I think that was seriously unlucky, and we probably didn't deserve that.
Yeah, one thing you notice, is that to be honest, like most of the time it's defensive errors. But looking at the last few games, so Everton, United, and Newcastle, it's the complete opposite. Our defense has been better than our attack. Like in our attack, we've like. For me,
I don't know about that. I don't think
in our attack,
the defending's been better, but it's not been brilliant. It's not been title winning.
Yeah, Max, go ahead. Sorry, finish what you were going to say.
So the thing is, like in our attack, like we just rely on Harry Kane, and in my opinion, like the last two games going forward, like we just look void of ideas. And and I don't know if and looking at last night's game, like it could be down to Lucas Moura and him like being dropped, but at the same time, like in my opinion, like going forward, it was the exact same as United and Newcastle. Like we just looked like so like out of ideas, and to be honest, and if anything. Okay. For Newcastle game, we were very poor defensively, but United and Everton, I don't think we were that bad defensively. Like, for example, first half against United, I thought we dealt with them very easily, and United had some very good players. And so it's like Everton in the first half, like up until about like a couple minutes before half time. Yeah, so I'd say up until 43 minutes or so, Everton didn't really look threatening or didn't like scoring. And first half, like Dyer was okay. Like Rodin was decent, like he always was, and he's still young and everything. But I mean, it's just my opinion. Like people disagree with me. Like people can disagree with me. And I don't care. But in my opinion, I think lately, like last two games, we look void of ideas going forward, and that could become costly. Like if we lose Harry Kane for the final against City. But that's just what I think.
I don't think he is injured, Kane, but the positive sign is that he put a tweet up or something that said big week ahead, and he didn't mention the injury, and it seemed like he was ready to fight for the cup and ready to fight against Southampton. So I suppose that's a positive. But
I think we miss Christian Eriksen, to be honest. We haven't replaced him still. I think we need that creative attacking midfielder.
We've missed him for a few seasons because the last few seasons he was in the club, obviously there was that speculation about Real Madrid, and obviously ended up going to Inter Milan, but he just almost gave up playing to his best. And I think that was towards the end of the Pochettino era that started to happen. So I feel like it all really comes down to how the midfield plays, because they get the ball from the defence and they try to find Kane. And Kane, neutrals that have no clue about football will just see Kane and think, oh, he's a good midfielder, and he scores a lot of goals. Whereas I feel like he tracks back too much because, they need to kick the ball up to him, obviously making sure that he's not offside and all that. But, they need a target man up front, and that seems to be Son too many times. And I prefer Son to the wing, and the same with Bale, Lamella, or
I think
anyone else.
I think Kane's doing. I would much rather Kane come dropping back deep, because if he doesn't drop back, then no one can get the ball up to him, and then we're just going to lose.
That's the problem. He's such a good player at winning the ball back and moving it up pitch, and it's kind of embarrassing how our top scorer is having to come back to try and get the team moving.
I don't think that's embarrassing at all. I think it's just
someone needs to take control in the midfield. Højbjerg and Ndombele. I mean, I'm not putting Højbjerg down because I think Højbjerg's been outstanding for us, but I think one area that we've got a bit of a problem with is he's very good at making short passes, but his long passes are a bit inconsistent. They're a bit unpredictable. You never look at Højbjerg. I mean, he's the man to kick the ball up to Kane. So maybe.
Well, I don't think we should be resorting to just booting the ball up to Kane. I'd much rather like Kane come back and play some neat passes around and
I
find
think to
some.
an extent, but when he's trying to header the ball away when we're when it's a corner, I think that's just going way too far deepwards. For oddly parts of the season he's been our best midfielder, yet he's a striker. I think if we're short on a midfielder and we have 5 strikers, then I'd love to see Kane play in the midfield for a bit. And he's such a critical striker that you can't put him anywhere else. But he seems like a versatile player now. He seems like Mourinho's turned him into something much bigger than just a striker, something better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think something else I wanted to talk about was Mourinho's choices of substitution. I think they're really poor, to be honest. I think his substitution choices, not just last game, but just in general, have been not the greatest. I mean, I think taking off Tanguy and Ndombele was a mistake. I think he was probably our best midfielder.
He kept giving the ball away. He kept giving the ball away.
Okay. But he is our best midfielder. I feel like that's not debatable. I'd rather have Tanguy and
Is
Ndombele.
the most consistent though, and I think consistency is a vital part in a modern.
Yeah, but
when we're chasing the game.
But there's a difference between being good and being consistently shit. Not saying Højbjerg is, but there is a difference. Ndombele is our best midfielder.
Yeah, I think I agree. But when you're chasing a game, you don't take off your best attacking midfielder.
Lo Celso should have started over Sissoko, I think, because it offers creativity. And when you're playing Højbjerg, that's your defensive midfielder. You don't need to put too many defenders, especially in a back 5. Too many defensive players.
Every time Ndombele and Lo Celso have played together, the midfield has become distorted. The two of them can't play together, otherwise it leaves a huge gap in the midfield.
Yeah, that is true, actually. That is true. We noticed that it seems to be Lo Celso who goes missing the most in the two, but, and Ndombele is hardly
to be fair, Lo
consistent.
Celso has only played like 3 or 4 games. I mean, since he's come back from injury. So I think it's a bit harsh to say that he's going missing.
He's been good. I think he was the only player against Dinamo Zagreb that actually deserved a match rating of over 0. I think everyone else deserved to be in the minuses, but, I think he was our best player in that game, but not really much competition. And he wasn't brilliant in the game either, but I think, did he start or come off the bench? I can't remember, but whatever he did, he had an impact in the team. And I think he took that into the Villa game, and that was much better. But, I feel like, why drop him and Lucas when they're in form? Because I don't personally think Lucas, I think Lucas probably more than Lo Celso. I think that I just feel like Lucas is probably slightly better on his day than Lo Celso, but both of them have their inconsistencies, and that's a problem. But I feel like they're becoming more consistent because players don't tend to have a run like this of 10, 15 games where they actually look decent.
They become consistent with games.
I think going back to what I was saying though, with the substitutions, I don't understand why we took off Reguilon either. I mean, I know he wasn't having a great game, but we didn't replace him with left back, and then we had Eric Dyer playing left back, which just didn't make sense.
I think it's because we had a back 4, and he wanted to take a back 5. Wanted to take a defender off and play a back 4.
I know. That's why I'm saying, why would you take off Reguilon again when we're chasing a game? Why would you take off our most attacking defender and then play a center back as left back? And then on top of that, we were just talking about Lo Celso, who was still on the bench. Dele Alli stayed on the bench until the 93rd minute, and Gareth Bale stayed on the bench. So I think we could have nicked something from that game if we had put on our best attacking players. But let's say we didn't put them on from the start, but when we were chasing the game, it would have made more sense to throw on Gareth Bale and taking off someone like Eric Dyer, maybe just going to a straight back 3, or putting on Gareth Bale for Moussa Sissoko. Moussa Sissoko played the entire game, and I think it's becoming far too frequent where we're looking to nick 3 points or come back from being behind, and we have a midfield pairing of Moussa Sissoko and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. I mean, I love Højbjerg, but those are our 2 least attacking midfielders. I mean, I'm not saying we should take Højbjerg off. He definitely needs to stay on to give us that balance. But why would we have 2 defensive midfielders on when we're looking to score a winner. I mean, it's just not going to happen. And I mean, we've seen it. I mean, against Man United, we didn't score and we conceded towards the end of the game. And
Mourinho is he's a brilliant tactician. He knows how to get tactics right, but recently we haven't seen that incredibly to his benefit, and I think that's a problem. Because, well, obviously it's a problem. That's stating the facts. But what I think needs to be done is stop the back five and then two defensive midfielders. That's too defensive. And yes, Reguilon goes up, but he doesn't go up all the time. He goes up for most of the game when they need him to go up, that is. So, after all, it's still five defenders and two defensive midfielders. That left Ndombele, Kane and Son, the three players that were trying to get us the goals. And unfortunately, I don't think it clicked from Ndombele yesterday, sorry. And that was proven because we struggled to get the ball up to Kane and Son. And ironically, the 2 or 3 chances that we had, we scored a few of them. And, I think it was just luck that it fell to Kane, because if it fell to Son, or if it fell to anyone else in the team, they wouldn't have scored those 2 goals. And that's
a bit harsh,
just one of the
honest.
things that Kane does and other players at Tottenham don't do. And I don't think, apart from, the Ronaldos and the Messis, apart from those players, I don't think many other players can actually score a goal like Harry Kane did in that situation.
Here's the thing, right? So you say the defense wasn't that bad, right? So here's the thing. You can't not blame the defense when we score 2 goals and we concede 2. The attack's done all they can. It doesn't matter how they scored those 2 goals. They still scored those 2 goals. And to not blame the defense for conceding 2 goals, that's just for me personally, I feel like all the blame needs to go directly to the defense. Not saying that the attack was good. The attack was woeful as well. But the fact that they still scored 2 goals, a goal's a goal, right? It doesn't matter how you score it. He scored 2 goals, 2 fantastic strikes. Even if it was luck to get it there, Kane stored them away. They were good finishes, and they were that was that. You score 2 goals, you can't concede 2. You can't score 2 and then concede 2.
I almost expect 4 goals every game to be 2 goals at least to be conceded every game. And also, I'm not really bothered.
That's the point, though. I mean, that's the whole point right there, though, is that no one trusts our defense. I mean, considering we played 5 defenders for 64 minutes and 2 holding mids is just, and we still conceded 2. I mean, if you're playing 7 defensive players, we shouldn't be conceding 2. Max, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was going to make one comment on the subs. There's a positive and a negative about it. The positive is that Maria's bringing on players who are wanted to come on, because before the subs, in my opinion, we had no attacking intent or intent of scoring a goal. It was just pass. Obviously, the passing was awful. We've already stated that in the podcast earlier, but the passing was awful. We end up panicking, playing the ball over the top, which never works. Like Everton have got Michael Keane and Beg Godfrey at centre back. 100% every time they're going to win the header. They know that, and we know that as fans. So it wasn't going to work playing the ball over the top after doing 3 passes. So yeah. So for me, before the before the subs, we had no there was no real attacking intent, or there was no intent of scoring a goal and getting the 3 points. So of all the players he brought on were very good, because Lamela and Lucas are 2 players who will always die for an inch of Lamela and Lucas are 2 players who would literally give 100% every time they step on the field. But 2 negatives about it. Number one, I think it was Sam said, why take off Ndombele? Yes, I know he was poor, but Ndombele is our best midfielder this season, maybe behind Højbjerg. It's between him and Ndombele, but them 2 are our best 2 midfielders this season, in my opinion. And although Ndombele's had a poor game, which he did do against Everton, he was horrendous last night, he's still capable of putting out some moment of brilliance. So why take him off? And Sissoko's still on the pitch, and also the subs were made after we go 2-1 down. he brings them on straight after he concedes the second goal. Like why? Like why? Literally, like the timing of the substitutions have been so poor, and I've been noticing that and I've been noticing that quite frequently throughout this season. Like, okay, say for example, it's 0-0, and we need to win the game 1-0. The opposition team scores in the 85th minute. Then we bring on Lucas Moura. Like it's been like that so many times. Yeah, and it's just shocking. Like I just don't understand why. Well, first of all, like I don't understand why Lucas didn't start and why he was dropped, but also like I don't understand why he wasn't brought on at 1-1. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have to agree with that. I mean, especially after how poor we performed in the first half. I mean, it just would have made sense to bring on another attacking player to just have another man to pass to in the attacking sense, like the attacking third or even the attacking half. I mean, we couldn't get past that. If we were trying to build out of the back, we couldn't even get it to Kane or Son in basically any scenario. I mean, honestly, I think Harry Kane didn't get any more than like 10 touches. I mean, that's probably wrong. I'm checking now. In the entire match, Harry Kane had, hold on. Oh, well, I mean, he had 5 shots, so he probably had more touches than he had. Oh, wow, he actually had 56 touches. That's much more than I thought he did. But I mean, our service to him was just very poor. I mean, you can see that in both of the goals he scored were from deflected crosses that just ended up at his feet. So I do think that we need to work on our attacking and we need to work on our defending. And honestly, we just need to work on our passing. But sorry, I had to sneeze. But anything else you guys want to mention about the Everton game before we move on to previewing Southampton?
I'm ready to move on to Southampton.
So we have Southampton on Wednesday, April 21st. How are you guys feeling ahead of this one?
It's a must-win. It's literally a must-win game. And I think we should be able to beat him without Harry Kane. Rest him for the cup final. And obviously, I don't want him damaging his ankle even more if it is already that bad. Give him a rest. And I think we should rest other players. And I said it on another podcast, which unfortunately we didn't upload. But I was thinking about perhaps playing Jamie Bowden. I know it's crazy, but I just feel like there's a stage when he's got to come into the team, and I just feel like he's trained enough with the team now to just have just a shot at goal and just see what a shot at goal. Just a chance in the team. You know what I mean? And maybe that will show off. But like I said, the league isn't that important compared to the cup. I mean, we need to treat this Carabao Cup like we're about to win 5 Champions Leagues in a row here, because it's a trophy, and a trophy's a trophy for us. I know it's not the best trophy to win the Carabao Cup, but at least it's something. It's something compared to nothing in the trophy cabinet. And it will shut Dulux up as well for their paint supplying start or whatever it was that they did. Yeah, we need to win that trophy. I mean, I think we should be able to beat them without Kane. They're in a run of poor form. We beat them 5-2 obviously last time, so I think it should be a win, but I just don't think we will because
I think I like the positivity about Jamie Bowden. It's not going to happen though. I don't think it should either. I mean, I think Harry Winks. If anyone's going to come in, it should be Harry Winks probably. I mean, after Sissoko's poor performance. But I think
maybe I don't know.
I mean, I don't think Jamie Bowden has trained with the first team much. I think he's had a few training sessions over the past couple months, but
he was training.
It doesn't make sense at this stage.
International break, I think, because Lucas did something with him on that tech ball.
Well, I mean, that doesn't even have to be in training though. I mean, that could have just been after training, after the academy was training, and Lucas was done with first team training. But I also wanted to add that. Oh, okay, saying the cup matters more than the league right now, I think is maybe over exaggerating.
But we're not going to win the league.
Hold on, let me finish. I think winning the cup would be fantastic. Obviously, we would all love that. But if we don't qualify for Europe at this point, I mean, if we lose the Southampton game, Arsenal could pass us. Everton is already going to be past us if they win their game in hand, and then we'll be in ninth. And I mean, we need to. I mean, this is a must-win game. This isn't a time to throw out 19-year-olds to get their Premier League debut. So I think that it's
They
really
probably
important.
care more than Sissoko and Aurier do. I mean,
I mean,
I've
I don't
got
disagree
something to
with that.
mention actually at the end about Aurier and Lloris. That
Yeah.
man.
But yeah, I think we might win. I think it's going to be not a very exciting game, to be honest. Probably like 1-0.
Yeah, I was going to say it'll be cagey or 1-0.
Yeah, but Max, you want to add anything about the Southampton game?
Yeah, I agree with Sam about the whole resting players idea, because in my opinion, the Carabao Cup is the only way of like papering the cracks. Like, I know the Carabao Cup isn't like a very important trophy, and it's a lose-lose situation, this trophy, because if we lose, we'll get more.
But why would you want to paper the cracks? Why give me one good reason why would you no listen. You don't want to paper the cracks, but you want them to show, because if you paper over them, then Levy will use that as an excuse to be like, oh well, the squad's good enough, you won the Carabao Cup. We need to have a bad season so Levy can establish.
Oh boy.
It's like it's showing we've had a bad season.
Levy already knows.
No, but he has a business plan. He wants to win. He wants to get top 4 consistently. We need to miss out on every single objective that he wants to establish. We're not good enough to get that. You need to make the improvements.
So you'd rather us lose the Carabao Cup final?
No, of course not. But I'm saying that papering over the cracks will just mean that all the bad players will stay, and he'll just use the excuse that, oh yeah, well, we won a trophy with the squad, so it's good enough for another season. It's not. We need to win, and if we win,
I don't think Levy's going to say anything like that.
It's worth mentioning two things.
Look, you cannot tell me after all these seasons that will not happen all over again. He's done it every single season. We spent 2 seasons without signing anyone.
Okay.
We signed,
talked about this before. Hold on.
Players. That's a lot of players in one window.
We've talked about this before, but I'm just going to give my view on it, and then we'll see if anyone else wants to talk about it. But the seasons where we didn't spend any money, I think were right around the time where we were building the stadium. So I just think we simply didn't have any money to spend because it all went into the stadium. And then since the stadium has been opened, we signed Ndombele, Lo Celso, Sessegnon, and Clark in one summer. I think that's the most money we've ever spent. And then the window after that, we signed Bergwijn and Jedson Fernandez, and then we finished the Lo Celso signing. That was also quite a bit of money. And then the window after that, we signed Doherty, Reguilon, Bale, Vinicius, Hart, Højbjerg, and who am I missing? There's 7. I know there is. Oh, and Joe Rodon. So we have spent a lot of money. I mean, we didn't spend any money in January, but that's because of COVID, I reckon. So I do think we'll spend some money this summer. Are they good signings?
Do you think they're all good enough? I mean, Lo Celso's been injured.
Was a fantastic signing.
If Lo Celso wasn't injured,
that's another. There's nothing that we could have done about that. I mean, Lo Celso had basically no injury record before he came to Spurs.
We spent 40 million. We haven't got our money's worth. Ndombele, great player, haven't got our money's worth. Every single player has.
Well, I mean, are you expecting him to be worth 60 million pounds in 2 seasons? I mean, he was a signing not to be like instantly the best in the league.
That's a lot of money, even in football terms. That's a lot of money.
I don't disagree with that, but he wasn't signed to be the best player in the league right away. I mean, he's still only, I think he's 23, maybe 24.
60 million. When Arsenal paid 80 odd million to sign Nicolas Pepe, they were expecting him to be one of the best in the league instantly. He's been a flop. Not saying Tanguy.
I mean, I agree he's been a flop. I mean,
not saying Tanguy has, sorry, but he's not. He hasn't been worth the money.
I would actually argue with that. I think this season Ndombele has been worth the 60 million we paid. I mean, last season obviously he wasn't, but
genuinely think so.
Yeah, I genuinely do. I mean, he's not playing as an attacking mid. He's playing as almost a holding mid as well. So I think his goal contributions, he's had 3 goals, and I'm going to count the cross to Kane yesterday as an assist, even though no one else does. But I mean, he has 6 goal contributions, which is I think probably like the 3rd or 4th most in the squad. And I mean, it's probably comparable to Nicolas Pepe's goal contributions this season. That's only from Premier League. Pepe has so Pepe and Ndombele have the same goal contributions, and that's as a holding midfielder. But going back to what you were saying, I mean, Lo Celso has been injured. There's nothing we can do about that. Sessegnon was obviously a signing for the future. He hasn't gone to the first team yet. Same thing with Clark. And then over the summer, I think Rodon, Reguilon, Bale to actually, I think Bale's been worth it. I mean, he scored 5 goals in the league. I think he has 4 assists, and for only 9 million, I think.
I don't think
then
he'd be worth it.
Højbjerg, I think for 9 million, he's totally worth it. And then
What?
Højbjerg and who else did we sign? I think Hart on a free was a good signing.
You're forgetting that Gareth Bale used to be, and he sort of still is. I know his form hasn't helped him. One of the best wingers.
But we're not
La
talking
Liga,
about.
and
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about, was he worth it? And for 9 million, I think he was. For a season. I mean, there's still time for him to score more. So overall, I think
9
the
million
business we've
for him
done
to
has been good.
9 million for him to turn up in like 3 or 4 games. I don't know.
No, we can disagree on that. But I think overall, the Levy has spent in the last few windows, and he's spent somewhat well. I mean, obviously we could do better. I think Bergwijn has been a mediocre signing. I think we could have invested the money that went into Clark better. I think I'm really glad we signed Sessegnon. I think he's going to be a big player for us in the coming years. So I don't disagree that our recruiting system isn't the best, but Max, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to finish the point that I made. Yeah, so in my opinion, for Southampton, I do think we should make a few changes. Because in my opinion, the Carabao Cup, like I know it's not an important trophy, but it's still something, you know. Like I know it's as I said, like I know it's not important, but still, like it's something to kind of call it potential an average season. But yeah, so for me, that I would rest Kane. I would start Lucas against Man City. So I play Lo Celso in there. Maybe give Steven Bergwijn a chance. He hasn't been given much of a chance lately, in my opinion. And in my opinion, he's a very decent player. Just lacking in product. So I would give him a chance. I would play Tanganga for this game. Partner with Rodon at centre back, because obviously Rodon can't play in the final, obviously. So pretty much like still. Yeah, so at the same time, like still play some. At the same time, still play a few like first team main players, but at the same time, a few changes like just to show that we're serious for the final. But yeah, as I said, for the Southampton game, we should 100% make a few changes, but at the same time, still play a few key players.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think resting Kane is a good idea, especially since he may or may not be injured, and then bringing in Tanganga. I'm thinking that Mourinho might want to play a back 3 in the final. So we'll see whether or not Tanganga can be a part of that, especially since Mourinho seems to think he's a fullback. But anything you guys want to add about the Southampton game before we wrap up?
Yeah, I feel like we should. Sam was talking about Jamie Bowden, I think it was. Only personally, I wouldn't play him. I'd like to see Alfie Devine get a game. I know that sounds mad.
I think obviously he's a great talent. I think maybe next season he'll get an opportunity or two. I think it's a little too early for him. And I don't think we should be throwing in an academy players in what we were saying is like a must-win game.
I know, but that's the thing. It's like at this rate we've got nothing to lose. Our players are playing terribly, so
we have the game to lose.
you get what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
players are playing terribly, so you may as well just chuck some youngsters in and just because you know they'll have more fight than some of the first team players.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sam, anything you want to add?
Well, I think going right the way back here to the cup, I just wanted to mention two key points about how winning the Carabao Cup could be so important. Now, I know, coming with that is a few problems. Like Bodhi said, that there's an opportunity for Daniel Levy to think, well, hang on a minute, I don't need to spend, which is obviously a negative. But I think the two positives is that think about Mourinho's time at Chelsea. That was a massive success for him. But when you look at him here, he's not had the success yet. But he started with the Carabao Cup. And that kind of leads on to my second point. Now, Mourinho, he brought a winning mentality to the Chelsea players. And winning the Carabao Cup will give them a bit of mentality that, we've just won something. Hang on, we're the best team in that competition, as that's what the final almost proves. I'm not saying that's how it worked, because we only played Brentford, Stoke, and got lucky against Chelsea because they weren't in form. But I just think that it gives them something, and that's what we need. Even if it's a lucky penalty decision in the 90th minute that sends it to extra time or something crazy, VAR has a very favourable day for us. It just means that we win a final, and that can unlock so much more than just getting a few medals and a bit of silverware. It's not just that, and like I always say, I know the Carabao Cups doesn't offer too much, but it does bring a bit of money. What do you want to say, Bodhi?
Well, what does it actually unlock other than adding a Mickey Mouse cup and a tiny bit of cash? It's not even that much. But what else does it add?
Like I
Confidence,
just
I
said,
guess.
the two things.
Well, I mean, I think it ends the curse, sort of. I think there's less pressure on the players to win trophies.
Well, that's not true because you want to win domestic trophies. It's like, ooh, the Carabao Cup. Ooh, it's nothing
It's
special.
the first trophy we could
I'm not-
possibly win, but it's a trophy.
And that says it all about what type of quality we have in our squad. If we're getting excited over the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, well,
Well, I mean, when you haven't won a trophy for 13 years, you do tend to get excited, even if it's a pretty sad trophy. But I think just the money point, I just looked it up, and the winners get £100,000 and the runners up get 50,000. So it's not exactly a lot of money, but
is that really how much? It's only that
yeah.
much. Oh, that's not very helpful. Hopefully,
No.
hopefully that's £500,000 we spend on players. I mean,
No, it's £100,000 for the winners and then 50,000 for the runners up.
well, I mean, who knows what it could bring? That could be good money, but we'll just have to see, won't we?
Yeah. I think that's just about it. Anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing on the Carabao Cup. I don't see how the Carabao Cup benefits us really, other than the fact that it adds a trophy, and the trophy's not even that special. It's like it won't attract any good. It won't attract any good players either. It's like, yo, Paulo Dybala, just want to say, Tottenham Hotspur, ball jobs, best one of the best squads Tottenham's ever had. Finished third in the Premier League, won the Carabao Cup last season with Ben Davies. Really good team. Come join us. It doesn't really help us much. So
we need to get back on track in the Champions League first.
Yeah. All right. I think that's just about it from us, though. Thank you for listening. I'm Tobey from _Spurs Center, and I was joined by Bodhi from Hotspur Industry, Sam from THFC.National, and Max from the Hotspur News. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Come on, you Spurs.